Connecting community through business, building relationships, and building Waterloo Region. 570 News presents Business to Business, powered by Save on Energy. Here's your host, Glenn Pelletier.
Welcome to Business on 570 News, powered by Save on Energy, and a welcome, as we do every Sunday at this time, to Ian McLean, President and CEO of the Greater Kitchener-Waterloo Chamber of Commerce. Good afternoon, Ian. And Greg Durocher, President, CEO of the Cambridge Chamber of Commerce. Gentlemen, welcome to another show.
Good afternoon. How are you, Glenn?
Great. Looking forward to this one. We have Jason Myers to kick things off. President and CEO of Canadian Manufacturing and Exporters, and we'll get to that in just a moment.
Well, it's really important that we have Jason come on because the two chambers get together and we have a manufacturing summit coming up on May 1st, 2014. We're going to have a really exciting event, I think, this year. We're going to have hopefully some visitors coming in from Alberta to talk about how Ontario manufacturers can help them out there because they're in short supply of services and products, of course, and then we've got Jason to talk about all things relative to manufacturing.
And the Manufacturing Summit is something that we work on with as a community initiative with obviously the Cambridge Chamber, Greater KW Chamber, but also Excellence in Manufacturing Consortium, the Manufacturing Innovation Network, which is an online presence, as well as the Center for Family Business, where there's lots of family-owned manufacturing and related industries. And it's a great day. And Jason, we're going to get to in just a minute.
Well, we actually have Jason coming there as a keynote
Absolutely,
speaker.
But that's why we're promoting this event.
He's the big gun there.
So he's going to lead off with our morning session, a keynote in the morning. And then we're also pleased that we're going to have some great breakout sessions. And then Jim Thorne is the president of Marzan Foods, which is people may not know the name, but $500 million a year Canadian company, specialty food company. And food processing is important here. So it's a great day. We'll have some breakout sessions talking about everything from WSIB. But the theme of some of this is going to be local manufacturing in a global marketplace. And so we're really looking forward to getting to tease us with what he's going to come and talk about, but about the importance of this region in the provincial and national economies and the opportunities that things like European free trade are going to afford for manufacturers.
Guys, is this an annual event that you do?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, this is something. I guess this is the third one. It started a couple of years ago, and Greg and I were sort of involved, but we've sort of taken that as a community initiative, and we're spearheading that with these other organizations. So we're getting great support from the municipalities, economic development officers, because what people don't understand, and I'm sure Jason has all kinds of stats, not just for this region, but in our region, almost 22% of the local economy is still manufacturing and related ancillary business to manufacturing. So it's still hugely important, and it trades on the technologies and skills development and other opportunities we have here.
And I think we're hoping with the European Free Trade Agreement coming on stream that we can even build that into a greater percentage of jobs and prosperity in the region of Waterloo.
And it's two ways, right? I mean, there's opportunities for manufacturers here to take advantage of that. Whatever it is, I think it's 27 or 28 countries, $500 million consumers. So there's opportunities for our manufacturers to be looking for opportunities to supply, but also to be partnering with European companies that are going to be looking to come into our marketplace and have on the ground suppliers and manufacturers here in Canada.
It may be a really good opportunity for Ian McLean to get a real job.
Who is this summit aimed at? I mean, who are you trying to attract here?
Well, we're really trying to attract the SME because the big manufacturers, I think they understand it, they know the global market, but what we really want to do is open the door to the SME, the small and medium sized enterprise in our. And really largely in our membership, these small manufacturers, and really expose to them that they have an equal opportunity to participate in the global economy with the products and services that they produce as well. And I think some of them are a little shy to that. They're not quite sure how they get from A to Z on it, but we want to create that opportunity where they have exposure to some of the bigger ones as well.
So one of that is a big part of the target market, but we are in when you look at it in the larger, we hope to have 400 attendees, maybe 450, with 100 to 150 of them being actual manufacturers. So it's for them to support one another, and for the rest of the community, whether it's the professional services firms, companies that will support manufacturing, to promote the fact that it is such an important part of our local economy.
And it'll be really easy to attract 450 people with Jason Myers going.
Absolutely. And he lives close to.
Yeah, I know. He listens to our show, ironically. It's odd.
Well, when he gets snowed in Elora or wherever he is out in the there's nothing else to do but listen to 570. So he's captive audience on Sundays.
Oh, you want to bring him in now?
Yes,
Sure.
absolutely.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, Jason Myers, President and CEO of CME, Canadian Manufacturers and Exporters. Welcome to the show, Jason.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Good to be here.
Well, Jason, we've known each other for a long time, dating back to days when I was at the Workplace Safety and Insurance Board. But really pleased to have you. We're working with you with our two chambers. So, what I want to, we've just give the setup about what the Manufacturing Summit is, but give us your overview, and I guess we'll start with how is manufacturing faring across the country, because I think that's in aggregate we hear all the bad news about manufacturers that are closing up or going different places, but there is some good news. So give us the overview, sort of a pan-Canadian view.
I sure know the importance of manufacturing, but I can also tell you how much manufacturing has changed, and I think that's really the story right across Canada. Here we've got new technologies, new market opportunities that are out there. But at the same time, companies really challenged by the fact that the Canadian dollar has gone up so rapidly against the U.S. dollar, and now the dollar is backing off a bit. That's good news. But that doesn't relieve the fact that there's tremendous competition from right around the world today, and particularly coming out of this recession, a lot of overcapacity. So what I see, and I think what's so important about this summit, is that it gives manufacturers an opportunity to sit back and kind of take another second look at their business strategy, because that has to change. What companies are doing today is very different from what they were doing about 5 years ago, and in 5 years' time, their business models, their business strategy has to change with the times too. I think the key thing here, right across the country, is that companies have to be adaptable to change. New customers, new markets, new technology, and new and more ferocious competition than ever. And that is the story across the country. We see the headlines of closures and job losses, and that is part of the challenge. But on the other hand, we have some fabulous new companies that are very well established, and companies that are growing even as the economy's in this area has been going through some pretty rough times. And I think looking forward, we're in a situation right now where the U.S.'s economy is recovering a lot faster than what a lot of people thought. That's good news. The dollar's down. That's good news. And as you were saying, new trade agreements that are going to open up and potentially have really good opportunities for business partnerships between Canada and Europe, and also Canada and manufacturers here in this region and in other places in Canada where business is booming, in Saskatchewan and Alberta, because of the energy and resource developments there. As you say, they need extra capacity, and companies, manufacturers in this region can step in. That's good business. I think
what's really interesting too. You mentioned a little bit about the Canadian dollar and being good news. There's some pundits out there that'll say, well, but if you're importing, raw materials or supplies elsewhere to do your assembly, then largely that's maybe coming from the United States, and so you're paying a higher dollar for it. But experts are really, I think that, the ones that are really concentrating on manufacturing, saying, hey, this is kind of good for our exports. Our largest trading partner is the United States, and it's kind of good that we're not, we have that ability to supply them at a much lower cost, and it's going to build our economy. But more importantly than all of that, experts are saying we better get used to this. This is not going to be something that's a flash in the pan, and, by the end of the year, the dollar is going to be bouncing back up. What do you say on that?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, a part of this is a long-term trend, I think, to a strengthening U.S. economy and a strengthening U.S. dollar, and that's important. There's a lot of volatility, though, clearly, and that just points to the fact that there's a huge amount of risk still out there in the global marketplace and in financial markets. And so the dollar is bouncing around, but I think that we are in for a period of time where the dollar is going to be down around between 85 and 90 cents. And, you know, as you say, there are a lot of economists that will say that that makes imported equipment and technology more expensive, and that's why they're economists, and that's why they're not manufacturers, as far as I'm concerned. You know, people in business will say, look, you've got a stronger U.S. dollar and a stronger U.S. economy, more customers, more exports, and more customers coupled with more cash, because that's the net impact of a lower dollar. Customers and cash give companies the opportunity to grow their business, to make investments, not only in new technology, but in you can't grow a business without growing your workforce too. So,
all right, hold it right there, Jason.
We're going to see more jobs in manufacturing as well.
We're going to come back with more with our guest, Jason Myers, President and CEO of Canadian Manufacturers and Exporters, as the summit is coming to Kitchener-Waterloo in May. It's at where's it?
May 1st. May 1st at Bingaman's.
All right.
Yep.
Coming back with more. You're listening to Business to Business, powered by Save On Energy on 570 News.
Local businesses, solutions, and success stories. Connecting community through business on 570 News.
Welcome back to Business on 570 News, powered by Save On Energy, and a special salute to our spotlight sponsor, Gallagher's Travel.
Absolutely.
We're with Ian McLean and Greg Durocher, presidents of their respective chambers, the Greater KW and the Cambridge Chamber of Commerce, and our guest, Jason Myers, president and CEO of CME, and CME is an acronym for what? For what, Jason?
Canadian Manufacturers and Exporters Association.
All right. For those that aren't familiar, you guys are, like Ian and Greg know all about it, but how would you define CME, what your mandate is or your role?
Well, we've been in business since 1871, and our mandate is to improve the competitiveness of manufacturers in Canada and open markets around the world for Canadian goods and services.
Well, Jason does a great job of that, not only here in the province of Ontario, but across Canada and representing manufacturers around the world. So we're pleased to have him with us. Before the break, we were talking about the Canadian dollar and as it relates to the U.S. and you know the intricacies as you described about more cash for customers to buy things. And I guess the question really comes is everyone has a different view on this, but from the CME's perspective, what's the sweet spot that the Canadian dollar should be vis-a-vis the American dollar? That's good for the Canadian economy, but good for manufacturers in growing their markets. What's that sweet spot? I mean, we had a 70-cent dollar for a long period of time. Then we were above par. We're now kind of seeing you mentioned 85, 90 cents might be that window for a period of time. What's the sweet spot though?
Well, you know, I think the sweet spot is around 87, 90 cents. But I'd never tell any manufacturer to aim at that level. I think everybody should be competing as if the dollar were at par. And look, if the dollar is at 87, 90 cents, companies are just making money. They're far more competitive. So the dollar is not going to solve the competitiveness challenges, but it is going to relieve a lot of cost pressures. And you know, the other thing is that when the dollar was at par, Canada was the second most expensive country in the world to manufacture. Germany was the only other country that was more expensive. And now we're 10% less expensive, and that helps us keep product mandates. It helps us attract investment, and that's one of the reasons why we are seeing more products being taken back from China and manufactured right here in the region.
Well, that leads me to my question. You know, we had an off-air discussion that I really shouldn't highlight on air because it's still being discussed behind closed doors. But I'm hearing more and more manufacturers are saying, you know what, it's becoming very difficult to do my process production in China and distribute around the world. You know, there's QC quality control issues. There's delivery time expectations. You know, that even though the lead might come from here, and we got to have the production out, and the production it's got to meet certain timelines. In China, they just say, "Well, you get it when you get it," and this is causing a real problem. What do you see, or what do you hear in your membership?
Well, we're seeing a lot of reshoring of manufacturing as well, and to Canada, but also to other places in North America. You know, I think it's important to distinguish why that's happening. Certainly, costs of production are going up in China. Energy costs, labor costs. It's becoming more difficult to find qualified people in China. More difficult to move product around, and frankly, the Chinese are less focused on attracting manufacturing just for low-cost purposes. The type of manufacturing and investments going into China now is to grow with the Chinese economy. So if you're looking at basing manufacturing production in China to sell to the rest of the world, that's the type of product that is being reshored back home.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
there's a second reason for this too, and that's that if you're competing worldwide, the only way you can compete is by doing something that is more customized, more personalized, and more of a customer solution. Mm-hmm. So that means you need to be closer to your customer today than ever before, and that's one of the reasons. On top of the quality issues that you mentioned, mm-hmm. another one of the reasons why a lot of manufacturers are bringing production back home, because it's closer to customers, it's easier to make design and engineering changes in product, it's easier to integrate that with new technologies, and that's the name of the game today in advanced manufacturing.
You were talking earlier on Ian's question a couple of minutes ago, and you talked about the fact that we're now 10% less in cost. We're 10% more competitive to do manufacturing here. But statistically, they tell us that our productivity gap is still widening between Canada and the United States. What do you feel is the reason for that?
Well, I think part of it is because we're not measuring the right things and that our statistics are wrong. Here,
very good. I like to hear that.
I find it. We wring our hands about. That we're not as productive, and maybe productivity itself isn't really the answer to competitiveness. When I travel across the country and all the local manufacturers that are doing extremely well, nobody's looking at real GDP numbers. Nobody would know how to figure that out. Everybody's looking at service, at quality, at their adaptability, how rapidly they can serve customers. Those are the key metrics today, and I think if you look at manufacturers across Canada, they're some of the most innovative, some of the most adaptable, some of the fastest, some of the most customer service-oriented companies in the world, and they've had to be simply to survive through this recession and the very, very rapid appreciation of the Canadian dollar. So I don't get too tied up with productivity numbers, and economists and statisticians they revise these numbers all the time, and I think if you're comparing apples to apples with the right size of company and so forth, I think Canadian manufacturers stack up really well.
Let's keep waving that flag, because it almost seems like a broken record at times. But
all you hear is the bad news out there, and nobody's talking about all of the very unique technologies, the unique products, and the fact that we're selling this stuff right around the world. My favorite story is the opening of the Beijing Olympics and the wizard flying around the stadium, and people should know that that's Christie Digital Systems that produced that, and all the technology right from Kitchener.
Yep.
Those are the stories that we need to get out.
Our guest is Jason Myers. He is the president and CEO of CME, the Canadian Manufacturers and Exporters. Now, tell us more about the summit, gentlemen, and tell us what's going to be happening in May, where, when, what it's about, that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, and I think we may want to keep because we still haven't got to the whole question of advanced manufacturing. Yeah. So I think we're going to keep Jason and come back and talk about that. But I think we should highlight that one of the reasons we do this is because the regional economy 22%, if you include all the ancillary pieces, is still manufacturing. So one of the things we want to do is highlight the manufacturing that's here. And Jason just highlighted one of those global players, which is Christie Digital. We're hoping to have Eeyore Stetch, who's one of their vice presidents, who is part of their global market team and selling across the world. So part of what this is meant to do is to bring manufacturers together, support one another, give them some information they know in terms of how to manage their costs, squeeze more out, but also give them the learning about what are the opportunities across the world. So, Jason, in the region of Waterloo, what we have a lot of things that are sort of a good fit for manufacturing. We've got a community college, 2 universities. We've got a manufacturing base, and we've got technology, the tech sector, which can make process improvements and new technologies to support manufacturing. And I guess that's what we're focused on is to demonstrate how the manufacturing that still exists in this country is high value added and what we would call advanced manufacturing. How do you piece those things together as you're talking across the country?
Well, before I was talking about the need for manufacturers to think of their business as providing customer solutions, and a lot of that is based on service, design, engineering, and new technology. And there are we're at the cusp of, I think, a real revolution in manufacturing control and process and production technologies when you look at the application of IT systems and new communication systems, sensors, robotics, automation, big data, materials technologies, you name it. This is reshaping the nature of manufacturing, and I think the whole KW area and Cambridge area are just so well positioned here because there is this match between manufacturers and some very strong sectors like auto, IT, food. Even on when it comes down to things like cabinet making and some of the smaller manufacturers, metal processing and fabricated metal manufacturing, that's so important around here as well. All of that's really important, but all that's going to require, I think, much more use and application of these new modern technologies. And to me, the Waterloo region is just so well positioned because it has this match of technology and the manufacturers that both take the technologies to market and also have a great need for a lot of these technologies to improve their own products and processes. A part of the importance of this summit is just to get people together to talk about these things because every business is focused on its own business, its own product line, and sometimes we kind of miss the opportunities that only come up through meeting other companies and taking a look at, I could use that technology to improve my product or my process over here.
We're going to come back with more with our guest, Jason Myers, President and CEO of Canadian Manufacturers and Exporters. When Business to Business returns, you're listening to Business, powered by Save On Energy on 570 News. Welcome back to Business on 570 News, powered by Save On Energy. Our guest is Jason Myers, President and CEO of Canadian Manufacturers and Exporters, and the big summit coming up May 1st is at Bingaman's, a joint effort of the chambers, and we continue now with Jason.
Jason, the Greater KW Chamber and the Cambridge Chamber put together a resolution a couple of years ago where we tried to lobby our counterparts across the province to support a resolution that would really identify a specific ministry or a specific responsible party at the provincial government to really have a mandate around advanced manufacturing and attracting manufacturing back to Ontario. Of course, we've met with a lot of resistance. We don't want another ministry. We don't want to build more bureaucracy. And we kind of, we understand that and support that. But the problem we see is government talks a really good story about bringing back manufacturing back and doing a lot of things, but we don't really see the action with establishing that central pinpointed individual or ministry where manufacturing can actually go to for that assistance and get that direction and guidance. What's your feeling on it?
I totally agree with you. I don't know if we need a new ministry, but we sure need an office that is a champion of manufacturing and coordinates across ministries and, sort of is a troubleshooting group and also is a point of contact either for manufacturing companies or for companies that want to come into Ontario where we're trying to attract investment. If I were looking at Ontario, and I wouldn't know where to start. And everybody's out there doing their own thing in government. Ministries are focusing on their own jurisdictions. And the problem or the challenge with manufacturing is it covers everything.
Mm-hmm.
It covers infrastructure, it covers education, it covers training and
health and safety. Yeah.
Health and safety, and so I think there does have to be a central coordinating, troubleshooting champion. And couldn't agree with you more. I'd like to see that right in the Premier's office.
Well, and I think that's what we were really getting at, and everyone got fixated as saying, "Boy, the last thing we need is another government department." And I said, and I still remember having that conversation. I was not a very happy camper.
I think you said we didn't know the secret handshake.
Yeah, we didn't know the secret handshake at the OCC. But what we talked about at that time was to say, it's no different than the Prime Minister or the Premier, whoever he or she may be, saying, manufacturing a priority. Here is the minister who's going to do with it. And I agree with you. It doesn't necessarily need a bureaucracy behind it, but what it needs is the political mandate from the premier or the prime minister saying, so-and-so is going to be responsible, and cut across that jurisdictional thing. Because that's the problem. And we've said this, someone comes and Greg's having some consultations with people in Cambridge. I have it in KW, and they say, well, who should I talk to at the provincial government? Short of starting with your local MP and trying to see if they figure out where it is, it's impossible to know, because I think you're right. I mean, it could be anyone from Minister of Agriculture, Economic Development, Finance, Labor. You go down the list. So you must have actually, I guess that's one of the things you have to face, is you're dealing with all kinds of different ministries and bureaucracies, Jason.
Yeah, well, that's right. We deal with all of the ministries, and I have to tell you the Premier's office, Minister Hoskins, Minister of Economic Development and Trade. These people get it. They know the importance of manufacturing, and I think they are trying to do a good job in coordinating. But we do need sort of a troubleshooter, a champion, and someone in a key coordinating role, whether that's maybe it's the Ministry of Economic Development and Trade that's given an enhanced role there.
Well,
but you're right, and the same thing goes at the federal level too. I mean, we have ministries of natural resources, ministry of all sorts of different sectors of the economy, and yet the most important sector for the Canadian economy, just simply because it creates so many jobs, not only in manufacturing but right across the services sector, is manufacturing.
Yeah.
And you've got a science and technology strategy, you've got a local economic development strategy, you've got finance, you've got trade. And everybody's doing their own thing, but there isn't any central coordinating mechanism at the federal level either.
Well, as a faithful listener of business to business, we've started a rant about fair tendering in the province of Ontario. But I think what we'd like to do is, I think both our chambers will partner with you and your organization to say what are the things that we can do to really encourage to have that coordinated function across. And I know we have good relationships too, but I think sometimes if our two chambers get together with you and say, boy, what is that final answer, so that we get to that point, we'd love to do that, because that's something we can talk about, because it's the right thing to do and it's good for business.
I think that would be excellent, and maybe that's one of the outcomes of the summit. Let's come up with an action plan and take it forward.
I'm a big believer, and I've always been a big believer, of saying that we're starting to become a society of thinkers and not doers, and we have to be thinkers and doers. And so CME is I'm a big fan of CME and the work that you do, Jason, and can't wait to see you on May 1st at the summit. And
so how do those who want to go get tickets to see the event?
Go to either one of our chamber websites. I think it's up and running now. The registration, if not, it's starting right now. It's very affordable. I think it's $75 for basically a full day,
and that's cheap to see Jason.
And Jason commands like $90 a ticket. So if he's to the economic club, so
at least. Hey guys, I'm really looking forward to coming, and we're going to be talking about a lot of these issues. But there's one special set of invitations I'd like to send out, and it's to students, to kids.
Right.
We often don't think about manufacturing as a career, but if you're going to go into a career in new technology and international business and some pretty challenging business issues. Manufacturing is a pretty exciting
That's a good
career.
idea.
Yeah, we'll talk to John Tibbetts at Conestoga College.
But also the universities too. I mean, with their entrepreneurial programs of saying, if you're developing new technologies, manufacturing is one of the places
you got to
it's
get
going
it
to end
done,
up.
right? You got to get it done.
Yeah.
But let's get the high schools involved here too,
absolutely.
and the boards of education, because that's where kids begin to make some career choices. And I'm a little worried that what the career choices kids are making are not going to give them the jobs that are going to be out there in a world of advanced manufacturing.
Yeah. All right.
That's great. Thanks, Jason.
Well, thank you very much, Jason. Time has flown by, and we appreciate your time today. Jason Myers has been our guest, President and CEO of the Canadian Manufacturers and Exporters.
Come out and see him on May the 1st.
May the 1st.
Bingham Park.
All right. Thanks, Jason.
Thanks a lot.
We're coming back with more. We're going to focus on our Save On Energy segment next as Business to Business, powered by Save On Energy, continues right here on 570 News.
Community. Now back to Business, powered by Save On Energy on 570 News.
And joining us now from Waterworth Hydro as we continue to talk about the importance of Save On Energy is our guest, Jeff Quint. Welcome again, Jeff.
Well, thanks for coming back, Jeff. And over the last number of weeks, we talked about Small Business Week and some of the specific programs that you do at Save On Energy to help small and medium-sized enterprise. Then we talked about the business case, about why it would be important, and we talked about both the dollars and cents as well as the satisfaction of doing the right thing in terms of the energy and environment issues. But now let's talk about how we get started. How does a business get started with getting on with the suite of programs that Save On Energy offers?
Well, I mean, there's various ways to start, but I mean, if you're a business owner, I mean, the best way is to start looking around for ways. But you're not sure where to start. Well, maybe ask your employees. They probably are full of great ideas, and we find that when we walk through facilities, we stop at machines, we stop in different areas. These employees have great ideas of ways to save, and they've all kinds of ideas that you can start implementing. But then you're not sure what to do with those ideas, and that's where I'd say ask some other business owners, ask maybe some service providers you work with, but most importantly, bring us into the equation. Ask your local distribution company representatives to come in and walk through a process with you and explain where the opportunities are. We're here to do it. When it's all free assistance that we can provide to you. So we're happy to come in and meet with you and start doing some free assessments on your facility and start showing you opportunities out there and then take the next steps.
So let me drill down on that just a little bit. So, yourself or John or Sarah, the gangs that you work with, if someone is just calling the phone and say, "Look, I'm not sure I want to actually have a site visit right now because I really want to kick the tires a little bit," you'd be able to say, "Hey, here's some of the other examples." I think when one of our previous shows you mentioned there's been over 5,000 projects in the region of Waterloo. So there's lots of experience to say, "Hey, here's a lighting issue. Here's an HVAC. Here's any number of different ways that people have benefited from the program." Is that the sort of thing that you can give them some examples of? Certainly
is. I mean, in small business lighting alone, there's over 5,000 projects in place. In our retrofit system, we're over 300 to 400 projects. That 300 to 400 projects turns into almost $4 million in incentives that have gone out in the community and driven over $10 million in economic benefit to the community through contracting work. But that's the we can give them the hard and fast facts about things, but really getting in front of them and showing them the difference. Mm-hmm. And I mean, the projects are an opportunity to engage staff, but they're an opportunity to improve everything. What happens is somebody says, "Oh, I need a new light," so they put a new light in where the old light is, but they don't look at the opportunities it presents, where we could put in a new light that does a new job, because businesses change and technology changes from year after year. So this is an opportunity to really engage your staff and really improve the environment that they work in, and really help the bottom line at the end of the day. So it's a three-way win for customers. But I need to encourage them not to be afraid to get people involved and go out there and get connected with us, because we've got a big network of people that we can bring in.
And that's why Greg and I and the Cambridge Chamber and the Greater KW Chamber are pleased to have you as our title sponsor, because this is really important for not only the community and residential homeowners, but specifically for those small and medium-sized businesses. We strive every day to have those member reward programs to save our members money, and this is clearly one of those ones where it can make a serious dent in their bottom line or improve their bottom line. So in getting started, probably the best in order would be to go to the website, see what you have to offer, because it offers at saveonenergy.ca. Is that right?
That's correct.
And what's there? It shows you all the programs?
It shows you a suite of programs for businesses and the residences, and it kind of shows what kind of incentives are available out there for them.
Jeff, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for appearing on the show once again. Jeff Quint was our guest from Kitchener-Wilmot Hydro. All right, gentlemen, just a few minutes to go. Federal budget being tabled on Tuesday. And Greg, you're going to be in the House that day?
Yes, I am. I'm going down as a guest of Minister Goodyear, and I'll be in the House for the budget. So if you want some immediate content, you can give me a shout right away.
Well, and we're going to be joined on next week's program by Diane Finley, who's the Minister of Public Works, I believe. She was Human Resources and Skills Development, so she brings a lot of background and is from this neck of the woods. I think she's from Haldom and Norfolk. So she's usually going to be on Business to Business. talking about the federal budget, and I think we'll follow in on a lot of the things we talked about today with Jason about manufacturing and the importance of that. And so we're looking forward to having her on. On February the 11th, we have our Chamber of Young Professionals in the afternoon, and we're really looking forward. I know your gala is a little later in the spring, but February 20th, we're completely sold out. 867 people going to be at our Business Excellence Awards gala.
And I wanted to go, but there's no tickets.
That is not true. Every year I invite him, he says he's going and then doesn't show up. So I didn't invite him this year, just so you say. And we're very pleased to have Andrea Horvath,
February 28th.
Joint chamber event for our provincial speaker series, our provincial leader speaker series on the 28th with Horvath. And Premier Win is March 12th. So keep that in mind.
And you know what's interesting? I've had some commentary from some members. Oh, why are you doing that? Why do you have that particular leader coming?
Yeah.
But you know what? It's critically important. We know where everybody's coming from. You know, we're in business. We need to know who and what are talking about what's going to affect us.
I think it might have been important for people to know in 1990 that Bob Ray, no one knew what they stood for, and they ended up being, because you never know what's going to happen. And this election in particular is, no one knows what the outcome. It could be any of the parties could end up being government, and so it's important for everyone to understand what their policies mean for business.
So what you just mentioned, those speaker series, is that a joint effort? Is that
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything specific to your individual chambers?
Yeah, I have on the 20th. Actually, Ian has his gala on the 20th in the evening. We have a breakfast with Kevin Wolfley, who was a guest on our show from eBay. He's going to come and talk to businesses about how to get online and how to, really merchandise your products worldwide. So it's going to be kind of interesting too, because I think we got into it in that discussion about how can small businesses benefit, and they can certainly help.
You mentioned something earlier, Chamber Young Professionals. What, in a nutshell, what's that about?
Yeah, Chamber Young Professionals, it's really geared towards those 25, 35-year-old
Ian's
group.
not allowed to go.
No, the first
you
one
missed it by 2 years.
First one I went to 3.5 years ago. I was the oldest person by about 15 years, and the only one had a gray hair, and I was only 40 at the time, and I was too old to be at the Chamber. But it's a great event. We usually have 75 to 100 young people out, learning how to network, getting to know one another, and sort of starting to take advantage of chamber opportunities.
And learning the good and positive and being influenced by each other as opposed to Ian McLean.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, there we go. Another show is in the books. For more information about the chambers and what they can do for you, go to their websites, greaterkwchamber.com and cambridgechamber.com. Ian and Greg, we'll see you again next week. And thank you for listening to Business, powered by Save on Energy, and our spotlight sponsor, Gallagher's Travel.